Water treatment is any process that improves the quality of water to make it suitable for a specific end use. The end use may be drinking, industrial water supply, irrigation, river maintenance, water recreation, or many other uses, including safe return to the environment. Water treatment removes pollutants and unwanted components, or reduces their concentration, so that the water is suitable for its desired end use. This treatment is vital to human health, and enables humans to benefit from drinking and irrigation. Almost all large systems must treat water. This fact is strictly regulated by global, state, and federal agencies, such as the World Health Organization (WHO) or the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency (EPA). The water must be treated before and after the product reaches the consumer when it is discharged again. Water purification usually takes place close to the final delivery point to reduce pumping costs and the chance of water being contaminated after treatment. Traditional surface water treatment plants generally consist of 3 steps: clarification, filtration and disinfection. Chemical additions make the particle charge unstable and prepare for clarification by precipitation or floating in the water stream. Sand, anthracite or activated carbon filters refine the water flow and remove smaller particles matte, while other styles of disinfection live. The first line style is via chlorine addition. Chlorine effectively kills bacteria and supreme pesticides and maintains a residual to keep the water pool through the pool network. How does a wastewater treatment system work? Specific treatment processes vary, but a typical wastewater treatment complex process will normally include the following course: coagulation. Coagulation is a process where chromatic chemicals are added to an answer tank to remove the bulk suspended solids and other chromatic adulterants. This process starts off with a diverseness of mixing reactors, normally 1 or 2 reactors that add specific chemicals to take out all the finer atoms in the water by combining them into heavier atoms that settle out. The most universally used coagulates are aluminum grounded akin as alum and polyaluminum chloride. Sometimes a slight pH acclimation will help clot the atoms, as well. Flocculation. When coagulation is complete, the water enters a flocculation chamber where the clabbered atoms are sluggishly stirred together with long-chain polymers, charged atoms that bag all the colloidal and clabbered atoms and pull them together, creating visible, settlable atoms that duplicate snowflakes. Sedimentation. The seriousness settler, or sedimentation part of the wastewater treatment process, is normally a large indirect device where flocculated material and water inpouring into the chamber and circulate from the center out. In a really slow settling process, the water rises to the top and overflows at the end of the blot, allowing the solids to settle down to the bottom of the blot into a sludge mantle. The solids are either dug to the center of the blot into a hoop-like tube where a slow mixing takes place and the sludge is pumped out of the bottom into a sludge handling or dewatering operation. The dewatering process takes all the water out of the sludge with blot or belt presses, yielding a solid fritter. The water from this process is normally reused and added to the forward end of the blot. Filtration. The following step is generally running the water overflow into seriousness beachfront blots. These blots are big areas where they put 2 to 4 bottoms of beachfront, which is a finely crushed silica beachfront with jagged edges. The beachfront is normally installed in the blot at a depth of 2 to 4 bottoms, where it packs tightly. The feed water is either passed through, entoiling the moats. On lesser non-natural systems, you might go with a packed bed pressure multimedia cleanliness versus earnestness beach filtration. Sometimes, depending on the water source and whether or not it has a lot of iron, you can also use a green strand grime instead of the strand grime, but for ultimate part, the polishing step for conventional wastewater treatment is strand filtration. Ultrafiltration (UF) can also be used after the pollutants instead of the serious-mindedness beachfront impurity, or it can replace entire explication process altogether. Membranes have turned the newest technology for treatment, pumping water directly from the wastewater source through the UF post-chlorination and freezing out the entire scum filtration train. The water distribution system consists of pipes, storage facilities, pumps and other accessories. The pipes laid within the scope of the public right-of-way are called water mains and are used to transport water in the distribution system. Large-diameter water pipes called primary feeders are used to connect the water treatment plant to the service area. The secondary feeder is connected between the primary feeder and the distributor. The distributor is a water main located near the water user and also supplies water to each fire hydrant. The service line is a small diameter pipe that is used to connect from the water supply main to the water meter at the user's location through a small faucet. There is a service valve, also called a roadside stop, on the service line near the curb of the street to shut off the water supply to the user's building. Storage facilities or distribution reservoirs provide clean drinking water storage after the required water treatment process to ensure that the system has enough water to meet fluctuating demand, service reservoir, or to balance operating pressure, balance reservoir. They can also be used temporarily to meet fire protection needs during power outages. The following are the types of distribution reservoirs: underground storage tanks or covered finished product reservoirs, fully covered underground storage facilities or large-scale ground excavated reservoirs. The walls and bottom of these reservoirs may be lined with impermeable materials to prevent the intrusion of groundwater. Bare finished product reservoir, a large-scale ground excavated reservoir, with sufficient measures or lining to prevent surface water runoff and groundwater intrusion, but no roof. This type of reservoir is not ideal because the water is not further processed before distribution, but it is susceptible to pollutants such as bird excrement, animal and human activities, algal blooms, and air deposition. Ground storage tank T built on the ground, the wall is lined with concrete, sprayed concrete, asphalt or membrane. Surface reservoirs are usually covered to prevent contamination. They are usually located in high-altitude areas with sufficient distribution heads. When the surface reservoir cannot provide sufficient head for the distribution system, a booster pump will be required. Water tower, also referred to as elevated surface reservoir, elevated cistern. A steel spheroid tank on top of a small diameter steel column. Composite elevated storage tank, a steel tank on a large diameter steel column. The space within the massive column below the cistern are often used for other purposes like multi-story office space and space for storing. A main concerns for using water towers within the water distribution system is that the aesthetic of the world. Standpipe, a cistern that's a mixture of ground tank and reservoir water. It is slightly different from an elevated reservoir. Therein the standpipe allows water storage from the bottom level to the highest of the tank. The bottom cargo area is named supporting storage, and therefore the upper part, which might be at the similar height of an elevated reservoir, is named useful storage. Sump. This is often a contingency water storage facility that's not want to distribute water directly. It's typically built underground during a circular shape with a dome top above ground. The water from a sump are going to be pumped to a service reservoir when it's needed. Storage facilities are typically located at the middle of the service locations. The most important uses for water are at our homes. Either it's delivered by a megacity county water department, or people supply their own water, ordinarily from a well. Water delivered to homes is called public supplied deliveries, and water that people supply themselves is called constitution supplied, and is fair always from groundwater. The adultness of America's population, about 87%, gets their water delivered from a public inventory system. This makes sense, as America's population now largely live in governmental centers. The trend over the last 70 times is of people moving to governmental centers and is reflected in the shrinking figures of constitution-supplied people in the nation. Seawater is one of the important water sources for power works in the offshore area and islet areas. In order to procure circulating water, boiler makeup water and domestic water from seawater desalination system, seawater should be desalinated by ocean desalination system. At present, SunUp seawater desalination program covers imitation water, non-domestic water, haven shell water, resort water and other fields. IO modular product is an cut and paste product solely developed by Hangzhou SunUp Environmental Technology Co., Limited, which have multiple sub-series. Integrates pretreatment module, a stern osmosis module, gutting module and control module all in one vessel, realizing all near one.